Hello, everybody, and welcome to Media Monday on International Broadcast Media. I'm going to bring in some of our guests today on our show. First of all, I would like to introduce the person who is the author or co-author of a very famous book called The Millionaire Next Door, which sold over 4 million copies. Let's bring in William Danko to the show. Bill, welcome back. Sorry we missed you last week, but hopefully we'll have you on again. We're going to have a great topic today, but good to have you here this week.
Thank you.
And now we also want to bring in a Pulitzer Prize winner, a New York Times bestseller author. He's also the author of this book, The Making of Donald Trump. Let's bring in the famous David Cay Johnston. David, welcome back. We got to hear about your new book you're doing. I don't know if you can talk about it or not, but we'll hear about that later on today. And this person hails from New York City. He is actually the founder of the Good News Planet network. Let's bring in Paul Slaktas. Paul, welcome to the show.
Hello. How are you?
Yeah, good to have you here.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
From New York City. I'll be in your city on July the 3rd. We'll get dinner July the 3rd. That's the name of the game, but I'll tell you all about it. I got a whole team of people showing up there to New York, the Big Banana. And this gentleman runs the Esports Network. Let's bring in Mark Themick. Mark, welcome to the show. Welcome back. Okay. Now, for our interesting topic that has been actually on the media before, it deals with our friend, believe it or not, Donald Trump and social media. In other words, what you didn't hear that he just got kicked off of Facebook. He got kicked off of Twitter. By the way, we distribute a lot through Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn. So I go, well, I got to be careful what I say. I don't want to be the next Donald Trump. They kick our whole network off. YouTube, okay, I don't want to be kicked off of there. But I've gone to jail personally myself several times for distributing too much media through their networks. But this becomes a very interesting topic. So the person who's a friend of the Donald, we're going to start with David Cay Johnston. Since you not only wrote the book, The Making of Donald Trump, you've had many conversations with him. I hear he's going to form his own network and bring his 89 million followers to the network. So, David, what are your thoughts about your friend Donald making of Donald Trump's social network?
Oh, I think Donald will not be successful at creating a new platform because he's lazy. He's not focused. His life is one of getting his hands on business enterprises, extracting cash from them, and then folding them, not of building wealth and adding wealth. I mean, business people, the kind of folks that Bill writes about. What I've tried to do in my business enterprises, what you've done, Nick, in yours, is you try to create wealth. That's not Donald's game. Just extracting cash, that's his game. And to put together a new social platform would require a whole number of things. And I don't think alone he's anywhere near big enough to sustain that. You'd have to be completely focused on Donald, as opposed to, say, Facebook, which he got kicked off over Twitter, where there's lots of different interesting things going on, from cat videos, which seem to be ubiquitous, to what's going on with sports teams and things like that. So I don't expect this will be successful for him at all.
Okay, Bill Danko, what are your thoughts about the Millionaire Next Door? He claims he has about 89 million followers. Is he going to be able to create a new network, and will he be the next billionaire next? Well, he's already a billionaire next door. Is he going to be successful at this?
He says he's a billionaire, Nick. He says he is.
Yeah, he says.
There's never been a shred of evidence that he's an actual billionaire.
Right. Yeah.
I have to agree with David's assessment on this, that it really takes a lot of hard work and discipline to create anything. And he's not getting any younger. I just don't. Look, I just don't see it happening. It's there's a lot of bluster right now. That's the only thing we see.
Okay, let's go to Mark. Since Mark, you actually created a network, the Easy Sports Network. What are your thoughts about this? Is Donald going to be successful? He's going to invade your space and take over the social media network with a new network?
It's a great question, and I think you've had some great, summary answers already. It is a tough business to create a new network. If his focus is wide enough, which that is counter to what Donald typically does, then he could possibly have some opportunity. The challenge that he would also face is that sponsors are really what's needed to run a successful social media network of any magnitude, whether you're Fox or you're CNN or anybody else. And I think he is extremely polarized into certain positions. And that is a very risky proposition for most advertisers. Putting aside the pillow guy and a few others that are very avid supporters of his, I think that the broader, what I call tier one advertisers would potentially struggle with some of the content that he would possibly be promoting on that network. So I think that's the challenge. The other is that I'm not sure that I see a wide range of young people really wanting to follow that network at great length. So that would be the other challenge, is how do you reach the young people who are the most dominant social media users? And that would remain to be seen.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a good question. Now, Paul, you started the Good News Network. Now it's Good News Planet out of New York City a long time ago. So you've been involved in social media networking for a long, long time. What do you see Donald coming in with the Donald Trump Network? Do you think he's going to be successful at this, or he's going to be a flop? Is this going to be the next, Atlantic City for him, or is it going to be the next Celebrity Apprentice for him?
Okay, well, yes, I've 50 years in making, been CBS, PBS, my own company 36 years, and on the internet 23 years. I did own Good News Network. I gave that to somebody who said, I like that, and I have that. I didn't charge them anything, and that's another website that's very good. So I started with Good News Broadcast, because I'm a broadcaster, CBS, PBS. And I've interviewed Donald Trump at the German Steuben Day Parade, talking about his good news. So I'm into the good news movement. If Donald Trump wants to make it's no big deal. When the internet got created, so I wanted to start a TV station 22 years ago, but I didn't have $200,000, $300,000 to buy a license to make a TV station. But I had these young guys subletting some of my space on 18th and 5th, who were accumulating all the radio and TV stations called Real Player. And they said, you don't need the television. You just go on the internet. You could do radio, you could television, you could sell product, you had a newspaper. And for $70, Network Solutions, I spent a lot of money, right? $70. I was on a network. Now I need somebody to host my content, but I had a buddy who had some servers, and he was my friend, and he liked Good News Concept. And I started off 23 years ago, 5,000 shows later. Now, Donald Trump wants to do that. He can do it. What's the big deal? If Donald Trump, he's a very popular guy. I think anybody who thinks he can't do that, I don't understand why you would say that. If you had 89 million people, if I had 89 million people who liked Paul Slakis, no matter what I thought of, they all were into bad news, okay? And I was whatever I am, or whatever it is. What a community. Are you kidding me? How many advertisers are going to go on? Probably whatever it'll be. There's people that will sell to anybody. Everybody needs toothpaste. So what can I say? I think he can do it if he wants to do it. There's nothing to stop him. But he'd hire somebody to do it. That's all.
Paul, I think one of the problems, though, that Donald would face is, yes, he has lots of people who are fans, but he's a very polarizing figure. And so you've seen a number of companies pull away, not want to be associated with him. Not everybody who drinks Coca-Cola as opposed to Pepsi likes Donald. And so you have to worry about loss of business if you associate with him. And we're seeing this in the withdrawal of advertisers at Fox, where Tucker Carlson's trying to position himself as the new Donald Trump so he can run for president. And he's down to My Pillow Guy and dodgy coin issues and things like that as advertisers.
Yeah. Mark, since you run a network, do you find advertisers to be sensitive to political positions, that they go, wait a minute, then polarization, we're not going to put an ad on if you're going to create polarized issues on your show?
I certainly do today. It wasn't that way so much a year ago or 2 years ago, but today advertisers are very sensitive. More such the larger manufacturers and product distributors and so on. They're sensitive to how things are going to be perceived by a multicultural, multi-ethnic, even LGBTQ and others. I don't know if you just saw, but IKEA is literally changing the images in their signage in parking lots to no longer show a husband, wife, and some kids as a family. They now have numerous, presentations of what a family is. So that's a very large corporation. Others are trying to figure out how to reach diverse audiences and be more balanced. I don't know if you saw also, General Motors was under significant attack a few months ago because it had such a small percentage of advertising marketing support from African-American agencies, and agreed to make some significant investments in that regard and changes. So yeah, there's a lot of pressure on for advertisers to be speaking to a broader audience. And Donald tends to be very specific and polarized at times, and he says things oftentimes that could be challenging, because that's what advertisers are a little bit afraid of, is they don't want to be in a situation where they don't know what could be said at any given moment that could absolutely put them into a PR crisis. So I do think it's important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Bill,
he doesn't need one advertiser. Why do you think he needs an advertiser? The PBS doesn't have advertisers; they have sponsors, they have patrons. He's got 89 million people. They give him $1 each. That's some advertising budget he can have.
Yeah, if they give him $1 a month.
He doesn't have to have one bottle of Coca-Cola. So
actually, Paul, I think you're onto something there. Trump raised $500 million, basically. I would argue a beggar. No, $500 million.
No, I know that. He can do whatever he wants.
500
the guys that he needed to fight the theft of the election. He only spent $9 million of it that we know of so far, because he had to report this to the Federal Election Commission. He only spent $9 million of it on lawyers. And the rules on super PACs, which is what he used, are so loose, he can spend the money on his own lifestyle. So if I agree with you that he absolutely could fund this through donations from true believers, I just don't see it as a successful commercial enterprise with an advertising model.
Right, yeah, but maybe a streaming model where people pay a fee to listen to the Donald Trump network. Yeah,
he can certainly do that.
He could do whatever he wants.
Yeah. So, Bill, what are your thoughts? You write books, and maybe that's a safer place to be than to be in media. What are your thoughts? Should maybe he just limit himself to writing books? Wait a minute, he may not be able to know how to write. Reading book? No, that won't work either. So what are your thoughts, Bill?
No, well, to Paul's point there, why not get a sponsor? I mean, you don't need necessarily advertising in a traditional sense. I think that's a very good insight. So maybe he can pull it off. 89 million followers.
That's a lot.
$1 a piece, $5 a piece.
Yeah, I mean, some money. And the thing is, even if he did $5 a month and got half those, you're talking about a huge monthly roll.
Yeah, he was much more successful as a subscription revenue model, which is the model that I think is being referred to here. Yeah. And when when I talk advertisers, advertiser sponsors are somewhat interchangeable. So that's what I was referring to there. But certainly, there are a lot of people who would probably pay a few dollars every month to listen to him.
Right.
Rush Limbaugh ran a very successful network for a lot of years, and people were very, very attuned to wanting to listen to what he had to say. And he has a smaller following than Trump. So, there's an example, but he put a lot of time and effort into it. I don't know if Donald would put that much personal time into that. And that's the question, is how much is Donald going to be on the air versus other people, and who are those people going to be?
Yeah, look, can I draw an analogy here? Daryl Gates, the police chief in Los Angeles, whom I also covered and was very helpful in understanding Donald, who I covered right after him. He tried to make this shift with clear evidence from polling that he had a lot of supporters and followers. He didn't have a broad enough reach in what he had to say. One of the things that Rush Limbaugh was very smart about during his lifetime was he would broadly bring up issues and talk about them. Donald tends to go into undisciplined rants, and NBC News did some analysis, not superb, but a cut at it, showing that the number of repeated Trump messages, like I get ones all the time, statement from the 45th president in my email, the extent they're being copied and passed on to other people has collapsed compared to when he had Twitter available.
Yeah, but wouldn't he be successful on a? Let's say he gets away from the sponsors, because I agree with Mark that a traditional conservative sponsor, an Exxon, an IBM, will not want to put an ad on his show because it's too polarizing. But a subscription-based model, there are people that will pay to listen to him speak. In other words,
I'll sign up and pay him if he does it, and I think that could work. I agree with. The question is, can he sustain it, and how much work is he going to do? I mean, one of Donald's overwhelming characteristics is he's lazy. And you just have to look at his official schedules and remember that during the campaign, when he kept saying that Hillary Clinton was lazy, he would disappear for days at a time. He was only heard when he made phone calls. And Donald's been like this his whole life.
Yeah, right. In other words, the thing is, he's not going to do the work, but he would be the point person for the network. In other words, we know he's going to be on the golf course, David. Okay. Right. So the thing is, what they need is somebody to follow him on the golf course. They need some follower, because he has his Trumpsters out there, just like Hulk Hogan had his Hulkamaniacs out there that just loved him no matter what.
And he might go along with Paul's point. He might hire other people, have them do the work.
Right.
He just becomes the personality you see, and he may be able to make it successful as a subscription model.
Right, as a subscription model, but he's going to need a lot of filler because it won't be all about Donald all the time, because you have to occupy a lot of media time, and he doesn't have it. He needs to bring in some of his crazy friends. I don't know, Paul Manafort, somebody else. All those people that he pardoned.
Sebastian Gorka.
I don't know. All those people he pardoned could have shows.
But on the other hand,
Bill.
He only has to do it for 3 years till the next election, right?
Right. Then he gets reelected.
So it's not into perpetuity.
Yeah, but and there's a lot of people. I don't think Liz Cheney would be one on the show, but there'd be some other people he could bring in, some of his crazies, and they could be part of this network, the Donald Trump network. Now, from what I understand, negotiations are going on right now, and here's the problem, David. He wants upfront money for all of this.
Okay. He does.
And as they say in Pawn Stars, that ain't happening. But upfront money, what do you think about upfront money for the Donald?
I think that first of all, he's got a large stash of his own money right now. Why would you put upfront money into him? Secondly, given his track record of not paying bills, cheating employees, vendors, investors, students, you name it, it's just the nature of who Donald is. I think he's had such a high profile about his sticking to his agreements, breaking agreements, and pocketing money that wasn't his, that he would have a tough time with that. On the other hand, there are some very deep-pocketed people who really like Donald,
Mhm.
and he might get somebody to do it.
Yeah. Ultimately, I think he may make a deal because I don't see he has any future in politics without his own network. He has none because all his avenues are going to get cut off. I mean, they've already started to happen. Not allowed on Facebook. He's not allowed on Twitter. Then the majors aren't going to pick him up anymore. CNN may not follow him like they did last time. Every time he made a crazy thing, they brought him on, which helped him get elected because he got a lot of free press, David, from
Oh
CNN.
no, he got about $3 billion of earned media.
Yeah.
Whereas Hillary Clinton got, I think, got something like 500 or 600 million. It was a
not even close. And so the thing is,
for good reason. I mean, Donald, when Donald is doing his shtick, I've described it in one of my 3 books on Donald as it's like an auto accident we all slow down to see on the other side of the road, together with a marching band, fireworks, and dancing girls. I mean, it's just you can't turn away from it.
yeah, it's like
But
when
I-
E.F. Hutton speaks, people listen, but E.F. Hutton, you don't even hear him about anymore. No, half the people listening don't even know about E.F. Hutton. Yeah, Paul.
Well, when I started at the CBS and actually working with the set decorators and the art directors on soap operas, and I remember Lloyd Evans saying, was a well-known set designer, and he said, television people, this is television. I mean, this is make-believe. I mean, people like to see characters. We all know Donald Trump is a very interesting character, better for worse, whatever you want to think. I don't think it's a matter of that. But people are interested, as you just said, billions of dollars worth of media attention. So, and everybody always started their own. Facebook started his thing. Paley started his thing. Sarnoff started his thing. Everybody has their own, IBM TV has their own mission. He'll have a television station if he wants it. And that's it. And people will go there if they want to watch him. And if he's has good programmers, he'll put Cheney on his television station. You think he'll get any attention if he puts Cheney on it and she'll talk? Maybe she'll go one-on-one with him. Look, it's television. Get real. It's a fake thing. It is what it is. All right, 50 years. There's no, Marshall McLuhan. Come on, this is be realistic. It is what it is. And people are poor, innocent people don't, they look at it, they read the newspaper, they think it's real. Yeah, it's real. It's the opinion of Sulzberger of New York Times. Everybody got their opinion. That's all it is. But we should be taught, the young people, the tragedy is that we don't understand what we're doing. We don't understand that what we're doing right now is a television show. And so, and depending on how you look, whether I'm looking this way or that way, or if I smile or I don't smile, it's a frown upside down. We don't understand communications. Look, he's got a great opportunity to do whatever he wants, period. And it doesn't cost a lot of money at all. Because he could do it for nothing. People would jump to be part of his channel.
Paul, what do you expect will be the impact if Donald goes ahead with this? And I think that's a big if. What do you think will be the impact when he gets indicted? And he's going to be indicted in Manhattan, probably by the state of New York on a state RICO charge, and in Fulton County, Georgia, unless the legislature stops that.
Unfortunately, I'm an interfaith, all-faith minister. It'll probably get him better ratings.
Okay.
So the point is, that's all there is to it. I mean, you know that. I mean, come on, look at how many gun shootings they show you. How much
and look at all the drama of a trial. Okay, David.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is that can be a whole TV show in of itself. It's just like the impeachment. Look at all the drama. And the thing is, and he'll be complete. By the way, his ratings will skyrocket. If he gets indicted and he starts the Donald Trump network and he gets indicted, his ratings will go off the roof. I mean, it's like a pathway to success. Now, whether you spend time in the big house, I don't know.
Nick, what's going to work against that is that any lawyer who's going to represent him is going to say, you got to shut up and do what I say, or I'm not going to represent you. Or he's going to end up with somebody of the likes of Sidney Powell or the much diminished Rudy Giuliani representing him. He's not going to have effective first-rate legal counsel, which in the case that New York is likely to bring, it's a garden variety tax, business, insurance fraud case they're working on. You need very skilled counsel.
Yeah, and today they had Benjamin Crump on, and he's this black guy that is taking a lot of the civil rights cases, and he goes, "I use the media effectively." In other words, to present his case. And it used to be a long time ago that you shan't. There was like an ethical rule: you shan't use the media to present your case. Apparently, that rule's got thrown out the
gone.
door. What?
That's
Long gone.
Yeah, apparently that's long gone. Well, when I started practicing law, but now it goes back 37 years ago, David, there was a rule: you don't use the media to sell your case, and apparently that rule's out the door
Well, you
now.
couldn't even advertise until about 40 years ago.
That's true. In Florida, where I practice, they actually still have an advertising rule. If I was to advertise in Florida, I actually have to submit my ads to the Florida bar to get approved before they let the ad out. So they have a whole different system there. Well, the thing is, because of the new media that takes place, he may have his case tried in the media for the first time, because I don't think he's opposed to doing things like that if it brings his ratings up. In other words, and it will, because people will start watching it. Okay, here's a great comment from Sasha Star. I don't know if you guys can read these comments that come in. Trump doesn't need lawyers, has a law degree from Trump University. I mean, you can't beat that. He doesn't need lawyers. He's got a law degree from Trump University. Okay, so now the thing is, Mark, do you see that if he creates his own social media network and he floods it with all the crazies, I call them, or his Trumpsters, and it's on a streaming platform which can go worldwide, which we know, and he gets subscribers, why would not that be, where he's positioned now, a successful venture for the Don?
I think it can be. If you look at, one of the points that I think the group was making here is he reminds me a bit of Howard Stern. So why do you listen to Howard Stern? Because you have no idea what the guy is going to say next. And a lot of what he says is really, a kind of, you didn't expect to hear that, so to speak. So I also think that Trump it would benefit him to be doing this right now, given that he has two issues coming up. One, he has legal issues. Two, he wants to either run for president again or figure out who is going to be president and who is going to be in the House and the Senate. And his power to do that would definitely be the media more than any other means. In addition to that, certain people are going to come on those shows, have their own social media accounts that haven't been banned, and therefore he could extend his reach through those guests when they post about what they may be doing, as long as those posts don't get them thrown off of Facebook, which they probably wouldn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the thing is, the technology has also changed, because we've talked about this at the IBM TV network. You can actually connect your social media television programs with your social media sites. In other words, you can do both. And I wouldn't be surprised if he actually does that. But I think he's in a forced position where he's going to become totally irrelevant because because basically of data genocide, they're killing him everywhere else. He's either going to be irrelevant totally, or he's going to be forced to create his own network. And right now, he's just trying to drive the best deal that he can out there. But I don't think he has a choice. In other words, either you create your own network, Donald, or you're media dead, which means basically you're dead for all intents and purposes anywhere else. So I think what we're going to see probably by the end of the year is the Donald Trump network in some form or fashion. I don't know if it's going to be a social media site. It's going to be a social media site along with a television network. It could be both, a combination of both. But I also agree with you, David, very little effort will be on his part. In other words, he'll show up once a day, but he's got to have a big team supporting him, because he's not going to do jack. He won't do anything. So Paul, do you see the Donald Trump network coming live to a streaming service near you by the end of the year?
Well, the streaming service near you is what I have in front of me. It's called a telephone. So it's with me everywhere. I don't go anywhere. I can't do anything without it. So all I can say is it's up to him. If he wants to do it, he'll do it. Very simple. If he was on this call, we could hear from him. He could say, "Yeah, I'm going to do it," and we'll see if he does it. That's all.
Yeah, but
He can do it.
but you can't see him on Twitter anymore because they threw him off, and you can't see
Who
him
cares?
on Facebook.
Who cares?
You know?
You don't care. No one cares.
Yeah.
Well, he cares. He's complained a lot about it.
Yeah, he's
Of course
complained a lot about
He complains about everything. But the point is,
you
just
can't
another
hear
thing
him
he'll
complain
about.
anymore because if he's, hey, David, you can't hear him complain anymore. If he's not on Facebook, he's not on Twitter. A complaint by yourself in your office with its closed doors or in the Mar-a-Lago, no one hears about it. Is it really a complaint? He needs a microphone.
I've never thought for a minute that Donald was going to go away. Haven't thought that for 1 second. Whether he will lose influence over time is another question, and I think that he will. I think he'd have very little influence now had the Republicans on the afternoon or the evening of January 6th or January 7th decided to denounce him. We'd be in a much different situation, but they didn't, and that's going to be a major factor in American politics for as long as Donald is healthy and viable.
Yeah. The last report I got is 80% of the Republicans support him, 20% think he's a loony bin. So that's a lot of support that he has.
Yeah, about that, and it's the reason that Republicans blew the opportunity to separate themselves. And you know, you look at McCarthy. He said Donald was responsible for the insurrection, and then he walked back to kiss Donald's ring down at Mar-a-Lago. This Congressman Clay, who says, "Oh, it was just visitors coming in a normal fashion." There's a photo out today from Business Insider. He was one of the people barricading the doors to the house so that this murderous mob couldn't get inside. They had their opportunity to separate from Donald. They didn't exercise it, and now he's an albatross around their necks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but isn't he? His name sells. In other words, the thing is his brand. Like the minute you throw Donald Trump out there into the world, the space, you got like a lot of people.
It sells in certain places, but remember his primary business brand is hotels, like the DC Hotel, which has extraordinary service. His golf resorts, which are all private, with the exception of Ferry Point, run on a contract, are all for very high-end customers. And the, quote, poorly educated, he says he loves, they can't afford those sorts of things. So he has, maybe you can see that as two separate business enterprises. You get donations from these people down the income ladder, and you keep having business from the others. But he's lost another PGA tournament, was scheduled for next summer. He's going to his number of rounds of golf being played at his resorts, which get reported by people who have their scores posted in the so others can see how they're doing. Those are all down, and there's no indication the occupancy of his DC hotel is going to improve now that going there no longer is your way of showing you paid him tribute. So his business centers are in trouble. And if you have any doubt that Donald doesn't see himself as being constrained, think about his jet, his bigger jet, his 757, which he made fundamental to the myth of Donald Trump. It's been sitting for 4 years at Stewart Airport, just north of Manhattan, a place where no one in their right mind would park a car or park a jet for a month. It has a blown engine, and they've been unable to get anybody to let them borrow an engine for one flight so they can get it down to Louisiana to have the plane updated. And he's undoubtedly looking at millions of dollars from hull damage, from sitting in the bad weather and not flying the plane. You know, he'll have issues with hydraulic lines and everything else. And the plane's going to need a serious multi-million-dollar refit to be flyable. And that assumes he can get a permit from the FAA just to make the pilot's only flight down to Louisiana for restoration work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that all leans toward he needs a play in media where he can capitalize on it, because it's an easy place for him to capitalize if he brings subscribers in. And remember, our prediction years ago was that Apple would move in, and they did with Apple Plus television, that CBS would expand. They have Paramount Plus, that all the major networks, all the tech companies would get into media, which they did.
And that's been part of your recognition in setting
Sure.
up IBM TV.
Right.
The legacy companies are what they are.
Yeah.
Exxon will never be a green company. It's a very well managed company, but it's never going to be a green company.
Right.
They'll do little things to say we're green. That's all. And CBS, good as it's been, is not going to become what's going to be popular in the future in terms of, I don't even know if we should call it television anymore. We do it over our computers.
Yeah, it's streaming media. It's streaming media. When I was at the NAPTI meeting a couple of years ago, all the executives at NAPTI were complaining, and I was at the PBS meeting that same year. They're complaining that streaming media is going to take over. They're going to take over, and you know what their response was? Nothing. They threw up their hands. I don't know what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Some of them were moving into streaming media. Some of them were not. And then what happened is that the cost of streaming media is so much lower than studio productions.
Right.
Donald can get into this and actually ratchet up huge amounts of money because of a subscription-based model, which is what Disney figured out much faster than he could do anything to make money to save his failing real estate empire.
He has one other problem doing that he's going to face, and that is, how can Donald have had all these billions of dollars that I've documented flowing through his hands over these years, and he's not vastly wealthier than he is? Part of it's his profligate spending, but the other reason is, I think it's very clear people have been stealing from him because he doesn't pay attention to the details. John D. Rockefeller, until he was quite wealthy, he kept tracking things to the penny, and nobody ripped him off for $1. But 1990, when I proved that Donald had been ripped off in a single business deal with a gambler for $50,000, his own people wouldn't believe it. And then they went and checked and found out that, yeah, I was right. I found this $50,000 theft. Mm-hmm. And Donald has had people, look what happened to his campaign. They had $1 billion war chest, and they spent almost all of it on development, they were told, of new customers. I suspect a forensic audit would show some people got very wealthy off of this, siphoning money out of Donald's pocket.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is media is the ultimate scale. In other words, the thing is, the real problem with a lot of his businesses that you look in is they're not scalable. In other words, he has hotels, so they're not scalable. You have a room, people have to go there. They have to be able to afford to go to his hotel, and most of his followers can't afford his hotel rates. Okay, they're not going to go. Then you go look at golf clubs. Golf clubs are horrible investments. Why would he ever do that? I don't know. That's like investing in the restaurant business. It's a loser. It's a cash drain. Then you go look at some of his other investments that have already failed. The airline industry, bad industry. That's like right above the restaurant industry. And so as you look at all his portfolio, it is all high-end junk that's non-scalable. Now you look at
a third of his wealth is the 2 minority ownership interests with Vornado Real Estate Trust,
right.
Realty Trust, which Vornado is trying to get him out of. They want to sell these properties, and the buyers don't want to touch Donald's money.
Sure.
So they're setting up this structure to remove. Once they do that, Donald will get this surge of cash, maybe $500 million, and it'll be like when he had all of his father's apartment units sold off. If you got 14,000 apartments in the year 2000 in New York City and sold them, are you kidding? How dumb can you be, considering what they'd be worth? And furthermore, they sold them to a single buyer rather than breaking them up, which would get them much more money.
Yeah, get them more money, sure.
And I suspect part of the reason for that is anybody who did proper due diligence would have discovered that there were tax cheating and regulatory cheating issues that would get their hands dirty. They had to find somebody who was willing to do it, but they got a discount, just as Donald used to charge premium prices to mobsters and foreign criminals to buy units in Trump Tower.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but what I'm saying, David, is media and computer software are the 2 easiest things to scale. In other words, if you look at it just from an investment standpoint, the reason why Microsoft did so well is once they put money into a little computer program, then they could easily scale it around the world. And the cost of producing the software program was a one-time charge. Media like Netflix figured this one out, the fastest growing stock on the New York Stock Exchange the last 10 years. Once they produce a movie or a show, or they acquire it, they can scale it across the world. So Donald getting into media with the Trump network, assuming he does and doesn't mess this one up. I mean, anybody who can mess up gambling in Atlantic City might be able to mess up this play. But assuming he doesn't mess it up, it's the easiest thing for him to scale. If he gets 90 million, that's more than Judge Judy gets. She gets about 10 million and pulls in about 64 million a year. I would assume that this is actually a super home run for him, assuming he doesn't mess it up. In other words,
Nick, yeah, you know what? I think you're absolutely right. The other that 90 million could be understated, given that that media is global now. I mean, that's why we're in the business we're in. We're Reuters' worldwide partner for esports news, and we have distribution around the world of a lot of our programming. And to your point, it doesn't cost us anymore because there's so many places that want to carry and distribute our programming as well, because there's a lack of good quality programming in many cases, and the bigger studios are very slow. They still have huge real estate investments in these studios, which you don't need anymore. I mean, we are moving very much to virtual studios that are all created graphically. They can be branded, they can be modified, they can be changed on the fly. And so oftentimes today, the guest is not in your studio. You're bringing them in remotely, just like we are in this program. So why do you need these multi-million-dollar studio sets and all of this stuff to do this? You don't. And there's plenty of capacity around if you decided that you did need that for a couple of shows a week. Otherwise, you don't need it anymore. And it's a very efficient process, and people will never stop wanting media. They always want news. They always want entertainment. They want to, in some cases, live someone else's life. Because theirs may not be so exciting. I mean, that was the soap operas when I was growing up. So there's an audience for it. There's no question about that. And the efficiencies today are incredible and getting better all the time.
I think the number one, I believe to be so, correct me if I'm wrong, if you guys know, the number one export of America is entertainment business.
It is a high number, Paul. You're right. It's a big export. You know, I'm not sure if it's number one. I thought the number one was Boeing. That we actually sell more airplanes, but media network is high, and also, believe it or not, legal services. We sell a lot of legal services internationally as well.
Do you have a premise of why that is so? Why entertainment is such a big business here in America?
Well, because at least this is my thing. Because remember, this show is broadcast in right now 122 countries. Okay, and part of it is they just love American junk. In other words, it's almost like they look at the United States as we're the leaders of the world, and everything we do here is better. Hollywood's better. Everything here is better. So when we have media, it's got to be better than anything from India or from Russia or from any other country. There's 62 English-speaking countries. That's their predominant language. So we have an automatic market to 62. Then number two, the internet language is English. So they're usually their second language. If it isn't English, let's say your primary language is French today, your secondary language is English. Same with the Germans, English. So you have a lot of ability to scale internationally your shows. But I agree also with Mark, because we filmed a lot of your friends with PBS. We started filming 5 years ago with PBS. And the problem that they had is their cameras are 1040 DPI. My camera, if I filmed on this, is 4K. And so they're sitting around, I hate to say it, with these huge studios. Some of them even went bankrupt. They just don't talk about it. When PBS studio goes bankrupt, everybody gets quiet about it. But we knew some of them really well. They're going, we're folding our tents and we can't do anything with our big cameras because no one wants them because it's 1080 or 720. It's outdated technology and we can't replace it. Donald can come in with all the new latest technology at a fraction of the cost, if any, and scale and he'll do it. If I was a betting man, I'm going to bet between now and the year he's going to do it, because that's what he does with everything. He slaps his name on the golf courses. A lot of them he doesn't own. He just licenses his name. He licenses his name everywhere he goes, and you know what he's going to do? He's going to do that to network. So I'm putting down below the Donald Trump network. If I was a betting man before the end of the year, you're going to see it. If he gets a sharp operator, he's going to have a social media network attached to his media network, because you can do both today, and with almost no additional cost. I talked to our developers in India. They go, yeah, we can do that. I mean, it's just going to take us some time, but we can run a social media platform integrated with a television platform. Seriously.
Well, Nick, also keep in mind that before Donald got in office, he was a TV show personality. So he's not at all a newbie when it comes to understanding programming and television and audience and all of those things. And then he had 4 years to practice as a president for what you want to do and do not. So he is very skilled and knowledgeable about this stuff, having had plenty of practice. He's not at all unfamiliar with how productions work and what it takes to get ratings and the rest of it. So I think that's a huge thing going for him. And as you just pointed out, if he gets the right operator, the right people to run the actual business, that's going to work for him in a big way.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's almost likely going to be. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Paul. I apologize.
I mean, he's been associated. It doesn't hurt to be involved with Mrs. America or Ms. America or whatever for many years. Look, he's for many the success story of an American. I mean, The Apprentice. You're fired. I mean, people, they ate it up. I mean, they love that kind of way of being, But so he's a personality, and we've the way we are, we like that. Some people like that, and I do good news. It's a little different, but and I do soap operas, and I did, But I do what I do, and there's people that don't like good news. They don't want to hear from good. They don't want to hear about somebody picking somebody up off the street that fell down. So they'd rather see somebody.
They'd rather have somebody push somebody or kick somebody down.
It's more interesting.
It's more interesting to see somebody pop somebody in the face.
If Donald goes ahead with this network, which I think he will, Mark Burnett's going to be the guy and his crowd.
Yeah, of course.
Mark Burnett would be great for him. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, well,
that's his man. Burnett, he made him big.
Oh, yeah. Mark Burnett took the tapes where Donald would do inexplicable things and figured out how to cut them into a reasonable narrative when the person who shouldn't have been fired was the one Donald suddenly would fire out of nowhere. As other people have written about. I have the answer to Paul's question, by the way. In services, the biggest things America exports are travel and transportation, $236 billion, finance and insurance, $76 billion, and then intellectual property, which includes movies, television, game shows, software, about $49 billion. And
much smaller.
Yeah, and in goods, this is surprising. Our biggest export in goods are food, beverage, and feed, $133 billion. Petroleum products next at $109. Civilian aircraft, which is overwhelmingly but not entirely Boeing, $99 billion, and they are the largest single exporter, Boeing. And then industrial machines, about $57 billion, and American cars, $53 billion, followed by drugs, legal drugs, pharmaceuticals at about $51 billion.
I just want to mention one thing. I think those are, actual commerce numbers.
Yes, that's right.
Having lived abroad, the share of mind globally is well beyond that. Because when you're living overseas anywhere, you are constantly trying to figure out what's going on in America, whether you're native to that country or you're an expat. They're far more interested in our country. So share of mind is well beyond that in terms of some kind of a number, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I just see Donald between now and the end of the year, David. I don't see where he has a choice, because you were telling about his hemorrhaging of his real estate empire, which is the easiest thing to hemorrhage right now during the pandemic. In other words, especially if it has corporate-owned real estate where nobody's going in. He could have empty spaces if he's got any new development no one's renting, and he needs money. He sells off a bunch, And the natural thing for him, because he was successful in media with The Apprentice, with The Celebrity Apprentice, and the thing is,
And the beauty
next,
pageants, all
the beauty pageants. I mean,
they,
he
the beauty
likes that
pageants
stuff.
lose money,
Yeah.
except for the one in Moscow, where I think you can argue those were payoffs, but
Right.
they get him a lot of attention.
Sure, the pageants, right?
They,
And so
they
the thing is,
build the brand.
yeah, and so the thing is, if he gets a good operator, which is the key, Mark Burnett would be a great operator for him, who takes over and runs a social media network, and he's able to even get half of what he got that he says he couldn't get. You know, he says 90 million people or 89 million followers on Twitter, because that's what he has right now. But let's say he got half of that, 40 million. For a sole operator, in other words, not a big network, on a monthly subscription basis, you're talking about a huge amount of cash, to the point where Netflix today, one problem that as we look at Netflix, their budget on buying movies is $12 billion a year. In other words, to acquire new content. And so the thing is, a small operator can't compete with it because they have so many subscribers. They just allocate $12 billion a year just to acquire new content, more than the entire net worth of Donald Trump. You see how scaled Netflix is? Okay, so it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this one out, that if the Donald moves over into the Donald Trump network and does it right, has a social media platform, has his own television network, has his own little type of Twitter account, which you can do, you can reverse engineer all of it, brings in half the amount of people, 40 million just to start as a base, he's going to be enormously successful, whether he runs for president or not. In other words, the presidency, if he gets it, fine. If he doesn't, well, that's okay too. He can go play golf the rest of his life or whatever the heck he wants to do. Yeah, Paul.
Okay. Guys, I thank you very much. I do have to run, but I just wanted to say thank you and a lot of wisdom on this call, and I appreciate the honor of being involved with it.
Okay, thank you, Paul.
Take care, guys.
We'll see you in New York, July the 3rd.
Okay, good.
Mark it on your
Maybe we'll have fireworks.
Well, we're gonna have dinner and fireworks at the Marriott. Okay.
There you go. Bye bye.
All right. We'll catch you later. All right. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye bye.
Right. Yeah. So, but I also know this, David, when you put Donald Trump out there, okay, internationally. All right. Now, when we put hashtags on this and we flip it around the world, it just gets a lot of attention. In other words, his name may be polarizing, but certainly just it sells out there, you know.
No, I think his only problem will be attracting enterprises like you mentioned, Mobil or Coca-Cola.
They won't have anything to do with them.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean other models don't work. And
right.
He does need a revenue stream because he spends money wildly, and he's got huge legal costs coming up. And one of the things I'm sure is weighing on his head is that any criminal defense lawyer who's going to represent him, particularly in the New York City case, is going to demand his fee up front. Because of the history of not paying lawyers.
Yeah, I think he's stiff Rudolph Giuliani, whatever his name is.
Giuliani, yeah.
Yeah, he stiffed him to about like 20 grand or something like that. I mean, it's just,
that's the one that really wanted 20 grand a day.
20,000 a day.
And the reason he stiffed him was that he didn't get him back to the White House.
Yeah.
But Donald has this long history. I mean, he doesn't pay vendors, he doesn't pay bankers, he doesn't pay government. It's just who he is. You know, there are people in business in the charity that I run. When we get a bill, we pay it instantly. If you're a writer for us, the minute we publish, you're paid the same day. On the other hand, I have a friend who waits 90 days to pay his bills, and he takes the 10% discount for payment within 48 hours.
Are you serious?
And they keep doing business with him. Now, my guess is they've jacked the price up a little over the last 30 years, and he hasn't noticed that. But it's the nature of who he is. You know, I go, why don't you got plenty of money? Why don't you just pay it? Oh, no. You never want to do that. People have different styles.
Okay. That's
Bill, I'm sure, discovered that in researching people with money, right? There are some people, Bill, who they could pay cash for a car, but they want to take the zero interest deal for 5 years because it feeds some need of theirs.
No, that's
really. I've got to run, but I want to thank you for allowing me to join you and on this program. It's been really interesting. A lot of good points of view. I think you're right. I think he's going to do this. It's a very high margin business when done well. I think that's attractive to him. It's a low asset, high margin business. You're not pick, pack, and shipping anything.
Right.
You don't have to have a big customer service department and all the rest of it. So I think he has a tremendous opportunity to build something if he gets the right operators, and you identified the potential for that. So I think it's going to be very interesting. I love your program, and feel I enjoy coming on at any time I can make a contribution.
Well, thanks, Mark, and hopefully we'll see you next time on our Media Monday show. It's one of my favorite shows because it's hard to find a show about media, and I've got several other network people will probably be joining us next week. Really, a whole growing industry. I call it social media networks.
Yes,
and a lot of people don't know that, and eventually it's going to be big. At least, but if Donald Trump does a social media network, he's going to be big right off the bat. He's just going to hit it, right? So that's my Thanks for coming, Mark. And
thank you so
we're
much.
going to wind up anyway because we're at the hour. So I do want to thank everybody for watching us around the world on the IBM TV network, Media Monday, and we will see you all next week.